Okay, so we are starting a little late with this one. I've had endless requests to watch this show and give my thoughts on it. I do appreciate the enthusiasm of you viewers wanting my take on this series, and as a matter of fact, I had absolutely no interest in it until I received such a demand from you guys. Demand creates purpose. Purpose creates passion, so thank you. The Mandalorian Episode 1 is directed by Dave Filoni and written by Jon Favreau, both of which have produced quality work in the past, although admittedly in terms of Dave Filoni, I am only referring to the general consensus of him from the Star Wars community, which has well received Dave Filoni's series Star Wars Rebels. By all accounts, I've been told Dave Filoni has tremendous knowledge and respect for the Star Wars brand and its lore, which is something I can appreciate. And in regards to Jon Favreau, I also appreciate him opting to have OG Lucas involved in the production, in some creative capacity. Now, with all that said, in regards to The Mandalorian's pilot episode, well, I was less than impressed. It's definitely the best Star Wars product I've seen on screen in a long time, to be sure. Bear that in mind as we move along. Again, I've never watched the Clone Wars or Rebels. I'd go as far as to say this looks like it might be Disney's second best Star Wars product, aside from Rogue One, which I do consider to be their best work. And I've heard nothing but glowing praise from the masses in regards to The Mandalorian, hence why I probably got so many requests to watch this in the first place. But in all honesty, this episode did nothing to wow me or make me want to praise it to high heaven. For a pilot episode, it was startlingly bland, hence the thumbnail, The Blandalorian. There were moments I certainly enjoyed to some extent, but there was never a hook, like what we saw from the opening to Game of Thrones, the opening to Breaking Bad, or even the opening to one of my favorite shows in recent years, Revenge. Once episode 1 finished, my reaction was pretty much, well, that happened, okay, and I should care because, look, when you have the production value and budget that Disney wallets out for its IPs, I expected a much more impactful and eye-gasmic opening to this pilot episode than what we got. This pilot episode honestly felt like the final episode of Game of Thrones, being that the majority of it was pointless filler. But you'll see what I mean once we start the dissection. However, I am optimistic because again, where exactly did that budget go, if not to this episode? I'm willing to wager perhaps that this season of The Mandalorian may just be pacing itself instead of blowing all its budget on the season premiere and the season finale. But we shall see what happens, I suppose. Look, you'll see what I'm talking about in regards to the filler and the convoluted, piss-poor established premise of this series once we start. So let's just jump straight into it. The Mandalorian opens up on an ice world similar to that of Hoth from The Empire Strikes Back. There is a scene of some low-life bar tropes harassing that fish-looking motherfucker from The Shape of Water for what looks to be Imperial credits. After he doesn't pay them for something that he cheated them on apparently, the bar tropes start getting aggressive and spill their drinks. They clearly see their drinks spill over. But then the Mandalorian opens the door to the ice cantina and the blizzard wind roars through the doorway. And then the bar tropes decide to pick a fight with the Mandalorian, who they recognize as a dangerous bounty hunter for literally no reason. The excuse Jon Favreau is giving these bar tropes to initiate this opening action scene is that it's the Mandalorian's fault in their eyes because he was the one who caused their drinks to spill, when the bar tropes clearly saw the drink spill right in front of them because of their own actions. Not to mention he's blaming the Mandalorian for something that the blizzard wind would have done. And he still harasses the Mandalorian after the bartender says he'll replace the drink free of charge. Despite all of this, these dumbfuck low-life bar thug tropes pick a fight with a Mandalorian, a dangerous bounty hunter that specializes in hunting down and killing dangerous people. And before I continue, this is another problem for two reasons. For the rest of the episode, everyone the Mandalorian encounters reveres him as a dangerous person. So these guys in-universe shouldn't be harassing him over a drink for simply opening a door. And the second problem is that everyone in-universe knows the Mandalorians are dangerous bounty hunters, right? However, the episode itself never tells the audience or breathes a word as to why the Mandalorians are so feared. The closest we get is an offhanded comment or two of, the story's true regarding the Mandalorians? It's like the show expects us to just accept the Mandalorians as these dangerous beings, as if we've already read some external source material regarding them. Or perhaps it's even lazier, maybe they just expect us to accept it since the Mandalorian is dressed up as a discount Jango Fett. So a skirmish breaks out, and it's honestly pretty entertaining. I like the way it ends, with the discount Jango Fett splitting one of the bar tropes in half by blasting a door shut with his body in the way. Nice touch. Anyway, then discount Jango Fett walks up to the Shape of Water, and the Shape of Water is like, "Oh, thank you saved me." Then discount Jango Fett holds up some kind of hockey puck to show that the Shape of Water is in fact the bounty target. So the Shape of Water offers the discount Jango Fett all of his credits in exchange for discount Jango Fett turning a blind eye, and discount Jango Fett tells him, "I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold." And then it shows the title screen. Look, that was a good line, I ain't gonna lie. But now we're gonna get into some negatives. First off, whenever George Lucas introduced a new alien species that could talk, he gave them some sort of accent or gimmick to make them seem foreign, or to better put it, he made them seem like they were from somewhere far away, adding to the uniqueness of each species. However, the Shape of Water just talks perfect English and acts like some guy in a costume. I know it seems like a nitpick, but I just found it to be a little bit jarring. He didn't feel like an alien. I'd take a CGI alien that moved and sounded like a creature from another world over this obnoxious idiot in a blue suit. And secondly, in comes the filler. There's a whole 10 to 12 minute stretch of discount Jango Fett escorting his bounty to the bounty collector. There's 3 important pieces of information we pick up from this utter waste of time. First, discount Jango Fett hates droids, or rather he hates the reliance on droids. 2, he has a portable carbonite freezer on his ship to safely transport his live cargo. And 3, this time era is taking place post Return of the Jedi. But for some reason we have to watch discount Jango Fett and the Shape of Water slowly but surely make their way to his ship, get attacked randomly by some dormant lying ice fish that for some reason didn't eat his ship before they got there, and we gotta listen to a whole shipboard monologue as the Shape of Water mouths off pointless crap at our mostly silent protagonist who just ignores him. Just have them getting into the speeder and make the droid remark, cut to the ship, freeze the bastard, and then cut to the next planet, and the same exact thing is achieved in a third of the time, saving time and saving budget. Let's cut back to the carbonite freezing. It was made clear in episode 5, freezing someone in carbonite was very risky. And here's the reason why I dislike Return of the Jedi the most out of the OG 6 movies. The time between Empire and Jedi is very unclear. It couldn't have been very long, since for some reason Boba Fett never left Jabba's palace. And assuming Boba Fett is a Mandalorian, how the hell would he have spread the word that, guess what guys, you know carbonite? That shit works like a charm. Let's mod all of our ships with portable carbonite freezers. Well, first off, that would make things a little too easy for a bounty hunter in my opinion. But that's just me. And secondly, all this really does is cheapen the use of carbonite and the tense moment in episode 5, since it doesn't matter what species you are or how careful you are with carbonite, just flash freeze the motherfucker and you're good to go. All for the sake of a reference to the original trilogy. Speaking of which, it really does feel like this episode was just jam-packed with as many references as possible. 2 cantinas, discount Jango Fett, the carbonite, golden R2, and 2 other things that I'll talk about towards the end. Anyway, discount Jango Fett arrives at his destination, a cantina on a mysterious world, and is greeted by none other than Apollo Creed. Yep, apparently that headshot from Ivan Drago hit him so hard, it launched his consciousness into another galaxy, and somehow Apollo ended up in Star Wars. So yeah, that's a thing now. Anyway, Apollo asks if he brought the cargo, and then he opts to pay with Imperial credits, which are apparently useless post-Empire. So discount Jango Fett says no dice, and so Apollo offers him a different currency that we've never heard of and we don't know the significance of. And in addition to this, Apollo says he can only pay half. Half the initial amount. And discount Jango Fett takes the payment because it turns out he's a pussy. Like, dude, where's your backbone? Only half? Find a different buyer then. You got screwed. You got screwed, mate. Why didn't you hold him up at gunpoint and demand appropriate compensation? Aren't you meant to be a feared bounty hunter? Anyway, Apollo lays out a half a dozen more hockey pucks, which are apparently bounty contracts, and discount Jango Fett turns them down because they're chump change. Then Apollo offers him a contract that's so expensive, there's no hockey puck this time, just a card and an address for direct contact. So discount Jango Fett accepts it and goes to the contact. And what follows is the most bizarre, unnecessarily drawn out scene, which again, all you need to know from this entire sequence is that it's a special assignment, and there's 2 parties, one who wants the person of interest returned dead, and one that wants the person of interest returned alive at all costs. This person of interest is said to be 50 years old. That's all the info you need to know. The contact is so devoid of charisma, and so non-captivating and mind-numbingly boring as he spouts off his lines, which again, most of which have very little relevance to what's actually going on. He also makes a zillion ominous remarks regarding the reverence of the Mandalorians and why they're so feared, but we are never actually told what makes them so goddamn special. Then he hands Discount Jango Fett a special metal slab, which again we aren't told its significance, we're just expected to know, and it looks to be a form of currency and a building material because Discount Jango Fett goes to the Mandalorian HQ and is told by another Mandalorian that this metal will serve him well because she manufactures him an additional shoulder piece for his armor, but she also says there'll be plenty left over to serve other foundlings as well, and then it shows a flashback that establishes Discount Jango Fett as a foundling. There's some useful information, some backstory, and it's told visually, which I respected, but again, there's just so much missing that it feels like we're just expected to know. It really feels like a large chunk of this episode, again, could have been better spent establishing who or what exactly the Mandalorians are. Lay the foundation. Then Discount Jango Fett sets off to travel to the planetary destination where the person of interest is hiding. Another Discount Tatooine by the looks of it, and then something bizarre happens. So there's an open sandy field and a couple of hills, but a very wide field of view. The Mandalorian scans along with his sniper rifle and sees some gibble-looking motherfuckers off in the distance, and despite a wide open view, and because sound isn't a thing all of a sudden, Discount Jango Fett gets surprised and stampeded by an oncoming gibble. He gets his arm crushed by its giant jaws, his flamethrower goes off because reference, and then he fights his way out and is saved by a nearby desert dweller who takes him in. He later explains many bounty hunters have tried to take the person of interest, and the person of interest is being guarded by bandits holding it captive, and all of these bounty hunters failed. He just wants peace in his land, and bounty hunters bring the absolute opposite of peace. And then Discount Jango Fett asks him, "Why are you helping me?" And then the desert dweller is like, "You're a Mandalorian." He says he thinks that Discount Jango Fett can succeed and stop the bounty hunters coming. Again, we are just expected to know why the hell these guys are so special. Motherfucker almost got killed by an ambush in open field. So far, the show hasn't done a very good job setting up the badassery of Mandalorians. Anyway, before they seek out the person of interest, the desert dweller tells Discount Jango Fett the only way to get there is to ride one of the gibbles. So there's like some weird musical montage of Discount Jango Fett learning to ride one of the gibbles. He calls it a male, and then the desert dweller corrects him, saying that these are female since all of the males are eaten during mating. This has absolutely no relevance, but they make a point to line this out for some reason. And since they made a point to line this out, to outline that they're man-eating females, I shall be changing their name to Dino Vag. So Discount Jango Fett and the Desert Dweller ride Dino Vag to the bandit camp. And apparently the unpassable road to get there is just a series of small crevices in the ground that a 3-year-old could jump. So what was the point of the highly emphasized and poorly implemented Dino Vag? You see what I mean by how this pilot episode could have better spent its time? Anyway, Discount Jango Fett reaches the bandit camp and recons it, only to find a Discount IG-88 droid. Again, because reference. And this dumbass droid starts opening fire on about 4 bandits protecting the bounty. As the bandits retreat and get like 40 more reinforcements, Discount Jango Fett is almost shot by Discount IG-88 until he tells Discount IG-88 that he's from the guild. Okay, so it's safe to say that all bounty hunters have some kind of truce with one another? Are they all from the same guild? Because I thought the guild was the Mandalorians. How many guilds are there and what are their connections, their rules? I have so many questions. And 7 minutes of this bloody episode was spent on Dino Vag. What follows is a pretty awesome, although overly bombastic action sequence with some funny chemistry between the two bounty hunters. As they fight off a small horde of bandits, again, a little too over the top since Discount IG-88 is hit by like a dozen blaster shots, but Discount Jango Fett takes control of a blaster turret and wastes the remaining bad guys. By the way, I need to point out that the bounty hunter droid makes absolutely no sense. At one point, Discount IG-88 and Discount Jango Fett argue over who should get the bounty. The droid insists that he should get the full bounty reward. What exactly is the droid going to use a bounty reward for? At no point does the droid say the bounty is for its master, an organic being of some kind. Like, it makes a point that it wants the bounty for itself, despite it being pretty much useless for it. I always thought that the original IG-88 was commissioned by a bounty hunter to fulfill a contract on that bounty hunter's behalf because he couldn't take the contract, effectively doubling the bounty hunter's business. But it turns out that's not the case after all. Anyway, they gain entry into the facility and find the person of interest. The 50-year-old bounty is in fact an infant of the species of Master Yoda, a species that takes an absurdly long time to age. Discount Jango Fett insists that they take Baby Yoda back to the contractors alive. But Discount IG-88 insists that the agency that contracted him wants the person of interest destroyed, terminated. As Discount IG-88 is about to shoot Baby Yoda, Discount Jango Fett shoots Discount IG-88 and saves Baby Yoda's life, and the episode closes out with this image. And that was the pilot episode for The Mandalorian. 38 minutes that could have been spent a lot more productively in establishing the characters, the lore, and the world. But instead this episode was lumped in with so much unnecessary filler that it made the experience fall flat for me. I don't want to be too harsh because we still might have a lot of my grievances explained in later episodes, but this is just such an odd way to helm a pilot episode. It didn't hook me the way a pilot should. I do like the character of Discount Jango Fett and his voice actor so far. I like the way the show looks, and I like how it was directed, so kudos to Dave Filoni. But there's just so many bizarre decisions for how this episode was paced, what was explained, and more importantly, what wasn't explained. This show has a budget of $15 million per fucking episode, which is the same as Game of Thrones Season 8. That's an insane budget. There is still plenty of Season 1 left to go, and we have competent people helming the production, so I'm going to remain optimistic for the time being. I hope later episodes can further draw me into this show, and let me be clear, this first episode wasn't terrible. It was just extremely bland and ultimately disappointed me. But that's all I have to say about episode 1, and I look forward to covering episode 2. If you'd like to see when that video comes out, hit subscribe and make sure the bell is ticked. I hope you all enjoyed this review. If you did, whack the like button and share this on Twitter, Discord, Facebook, or wherever. As always, a special thank you and shout out to my patrons and subscribe stars. You guys are fantastic. Thanks for all of the kind donations, and if you'd like to support me with a monthly donation of $1, you can find the links to Patreon and Subscribestar in the description below. Check out some of my other videos if you like. I got plenty of Star Wars content that you can chew over to bridge the gap. And thank you to the Discord, you guys are amazing as well. And if you'd like to interact with me and my community, you can join the Discord. The public link is available in the description below. Thanks for staying to the end. I very much appreciate it. Have a swell day, and I'll see you guys next time.